Bună ziua, dragi telespectatori! Sunt Gabriela Sava și vă zic bine ați venit la o nouă ediție a emisiunii Euroferma. Astăzi vorbim despre fermierul european versus fermierul american. Se știe că politica europeană comună, PAC-ul, au așa numitul Green Deal. Iată că americanii au un program care se numește Farm Bill. Dacă este mai avantajos Farm Bill-ul față de Green Deal, dacă fermierul american este mai avantajat față de fermierul european, încercăm să aflăm astăzi. Suntem alături de doamna Maria Cârjă, pentru că știm că domnia sa s-a ocupat de aducerea fermierului Trey Hill în România. Bună ziua, doamna Maria Cârjă! De ce Trey Hill în România?
Trey Hill este un fermier din Statele Unite care mi-a atras atenția vara trecută când i-am vizitat ferma. De ce mi-a atras atenția? Pentru că modul în care face agricultură sau modul în care seamănă în ferma sa porumb, soia și alte culturi, mi s-a părut aproximativ similar cu ceea ce fermierii români trebuie să aplice în țara noastră.
E o cerință mai mult.
Este o cerință, iar diferența este că fermierii români primesc și subvenție pentru această cerință pe care noi o numim cultură verde. Și având discuții cu colegele de la APPR, m-am gândit că Trey Hill ar putea să fie un exemplu pentru fermierii din țara noastră.
Haideți să vedem ce zice Trey Hill în conferința care a avut recent loc.
This meeting has been great for me because I feel like I'm at home. The concepts and the discussions are all very similar. So I'm going to talk about my experiences on my farm at home, where the climate's different and the soils are different, but how I've taken my farm from conventional farming of corn and soybeans to a much more ecological, green way of farming that's also financially viable. So this is my farm. I live in Maryland. We grow corn, soybeans, and wheat. We're right on the water. You can see the Chesapeake Bay in the background. But for those not familiar with Maryland, it's over here. So I'm here, right up here. And then I'm surrounded by people. Washington, D.C., Philadelphia, and then I farm in this area. So as a large-scale producer, I very much have a target on me because folks around the world don't necessarily like large-scale production agriculture in the public. So my goal, part of the bay issues is we have too much nutrient runoff going into the waters that many of the city folks like to swim in, fish in, play in. One of the issues is agriculture. So I decided that I needed to change the way we farm.
Trey Hill are o fermă de 5.000 de hectare, împărțită între porumb, soia și cereale. Deci putem spune că face o rotație destul de strânsă.
Vreau să întreb dacă în America este permisă monocultura.
În America este permisă monocultura, dar așa cum știm cu toții, în America tot porumbul cultivat este modificat genetic. Bineînțeles, toată suprafața de soia este modificată genetic. Fermierii au această posibilitate să cultive porumb după porumb, soia după soia, deoarece nu au probleme nici cu burenile și nici cu insectele prezente, planta de cultură având această rezistență.
What did we change? The state about 20 years ago encouraged us to go all no-till and use cover crops. The cover crops help pull up the excess nutrients at the end of the harvest that are still in the soil. The problem is we were very unfamiliar with them. We've been no-tilling for a long time, direct seeding, direct drilling. The problem with not doing tillage is in the spring, the ground stays too wet and too cold. It delays our planting, therefore making the yields lower. So we would always do some direct seeding, but we would always do some conventionally. We would plow some and do some no-till. They encouraged the cover crops. So we started planting and sowing a crop after we harvested our corn to pull up those excess nutrients. The problem was we didn't want the fields green in the spring. If the fields were green in the spring, what would we do? Well, one year we had a very wet spring. We had been cover cropping for several years, but in March we would always go out and spray herbicides on the cover crops to kill them. By doing that, we would then direct seed or plow into fields that were brown. This year in particular, about 15 years ago, we had sprayed the perimeter of the field with the sprayer, so we had 30 meters around the field that we had sprayed, and it was brown. The inside of the field was cover crop and was about this tall with the cereal. It looked awful. The farmers in the neighborhood were talking about me. At the coffee shop, they said, "Oh, Trey has a mess. He's got this field with green, and then around it is all brown." So George has worked with me on our team. I was this big when George started working with our family, so he and I are like family. Went to plant it. He's run the planter for probably 40 years. Planted as much corn as anyone I know. He went out there and he tried to plant in this field that was green and brown. We were both very unhappy because the field looked like such a mess. So what we did was he tried to plant where it was brown, and where it was brown, it was clearly too wet. All farmers know when a field is too wet, the soil will stick to the tires of the planter, they stick to the tires of the tractor. When you open the trench with the disc openers, the trench stays open, it's muddy, you get compaction, the roots won't grow, and the seed won't germinate properly. We decided that we had to move, we had to go to a different field, and we were probably gonna have to plow this field. We then tried where it was green. It was unlike anything we had ever planted before because it was wheat like this, but this tall. And when we pulled the planter into it, within about 20 centimeters, all of a sudden the soil was planting perfectly. Very similar to the way conventional tillage would have planted. Because that crop was pulling moisture up and at the same time allowing the moisture to go down in the soil was at equilibrium and plantable. And that's when George and I looked at each other. We had never planted like this before. We both had generations of experience, but we realized that there might be a different way that we should run the farm. George looked at me and he said we should never spray anything again. I thought that was very drastic. So over 15 years, we've gradually taken small percentages and let them be green and plant green and learn to work with it so that we can maintain yields while at the same time being able to plant early, but also direct seeding for the environment. Why is planting green better? It gives us better water efficiency. It makes it so that the soil stays at equilibrium. If it's dry, it stays more moist. If it's wet, it stays more dry. That allows us more days to plant, more days of the equipment in the field, and we also get therefore expanding our planting window and getting us better machine utilization.
Trey Hill a reușit să ne convingă pe noi și cred că și pe fermierii prezenți la eveniment că cultura verde are mai multe avantaje. Și el, când a început să folosească acest semănat, această metodă de înființare a culturilor în cultură verde, i-a fost impus. Mai exact, activiștii de mediu, în zona în care ferma este locată, ați văzut foarte aproape de ocean, într-o zonă protejată, sunt foarte agresivi și în continuare sunt foarte agresivi în ceea ce privește conservarea resurselor naturale. Și atunci, aplicând această inițial obligație de a semăna în cultură verde, Trey Hill și-a dat seama de cât de multe avantaje poate să-i aducă această metodă. Mai exact, ne-a spus în felul următor: dacă anul sau solul este foarte umed și nu pot să intru la semănat, această cultură verde mă ajută, consumă surplusul de apă din sol și eu pot să intru la semănat într-o plajă mult mai largă de timp. Deci îi oferă o fereastră de semănat mult mai mare. Dacă este secetă, această cultură verde îmi menține apa în sol prin evitarea procesului de evaporare a apei care s-ar realiza într-un câmp deschis. Prezența rădăcinilor sau activitatea radiculară a plantelor care se cultivă ca substrat verde, ca și cultură verde, mi-asigură o afânare a solului în tot timpul anului. Deci există activitate a rădăcinilor în sol. Și, bineînțeles, primăvara, cultura de bază, care poate să fie porumb, soia, se seamănă direct în acest strat verde Iar în momentul în care porumbul a răsărit, și o să cred că în prezentare 3 a arătat foarte bine, a răsărit, are 2, 3, 4 frunze, aici apare, să spunem așa, diferența între noi și Statele Unite. 3 poate să aplice un erbicid total,
Glifosatul, spune el.
da, care îi distruge 100% cultura verde, iar porumbul fiind rezistent la glifosat, rămâne și își vede mai departe de vegetație, iar legislația în România nu ne lasă să aplicăm niciun fel de produs de protecție a plantelor pe această suprafață înființată pe cultura verde. Dar, în schimb, în România primim 50 de euro pe hectar, pe când 3 nu primește nimic. Deci, aceasta este diferența între legislația europeană și cea americană.
This is a field that we would plant. I will direct seed. This is a cover crop. It's crimson clover, a legume, rapeseed, cereal, and a few other things mixed in. So to most people, this would be very foreign, right? It's very difficult to take your planter and plant into this. So that's our planter. This is seeding corn. So most of you probably think that's crazy, as do my neighbors at home. But it actually works. It's quite surprising, and what we're finding is that we're getting a lot of benefits out of it. Not just in yield, but we're also getting ecological benefits. We're getting more bees, we're getting more birds, we're getting more things associated with the ecological environment. And the way that we're planting, while to us it didn't make sense 15 years ago, once we started thinking about it as a whole system, we realized that this more closely replicates the natural environment of a prairie or a forest, where seeds drop down into living soils and then grow out of them. We still use a lot of technology. We still need our herbicides. The Green New Deal of Europe would scare me, because the technology and the herbicides and the different things that we use make it so that we can have healthier soils than the folks that are my neighbors that are sometimes doing a lot of tillage in order to have weed control. So all of these things, I think, combine in a holistic style of farming where we get to go. We use technology, we use data. We talked a lot about data today. I'm not advertising for granular, but when it comes, it's very beneficial. We're able to do tons of research. We're able to do analytics in the field in real time.
Care este relația fermierului american cu tehnologia? Cât de des o folosește în comparație cu România?
Fermierul american este dependent de tehnologie. Deci nu există fermier american care să nu folosească noile tehnologii de urmărire a culturii din satelit. Mai exact, tot pachetul de tehnologie în ceea ce privește, sau de digitalizare, mai exact, al agriculturii, este cumpărat de către fermierul american, așa cum cumpără un alt input, semințe, produse de protecție a plantelor.
Adică are un preț pe...
Are un preț pe hectar.
Pe hectar.
Da. Deci furnizorii de servicii digitale, cum este Granular, pe care majoritatea fermierilor îl folosesc, vând aceste servicii cu un preț pe hectar în funcție de cultura la care se adresează.
So in this plot, we look at water and we look at nitrates going into the ground. And what we're finding is that we can use the satellite imagery. So what we have is we get a picture of the field every day that the sun shines. So this field shows that plot, and the yellow says that there's no vegetation there. The purple says that there was lots of vegetation. So we planted it green, and in the yellow spot we planted it brown, all direct seeding. Midway through the summer, on June 23rd, there was virtually no difference. As it started to get drier, we experienced a drought. Up here you can see that streak starting to show stress. So where we had left the ground covered, the ground stayed cooler, it stayed shaded, and therefore gave us a lot more moisture retention in order to make the crop better in the drought situation. In years where we get ample rainfall, not much difference. In years where we struggle for rain, in years where we have droughts and there's not enough moisture to grow a good crop, that's where the direct seeding into green really helps. Here's the yield map, and you can see up top there, the streak, where we had sprayed off the cover crop, it did not yield as well. So we've done multiple tests over multiple years. This is last year's data. We did 3 tests. This was through University, Department of Agriculture, as well as the local environmentalist. And what we found was, on this farm in particular, we averaged about 15.5 tons per hectare, and there was no true difference between where we had cover crop and did not. But we were able to use less inputs. We're able to lower our herbicide rates. Not eliminate herbicides, but lower them. We've eliminated our insecticides over the top, but we're still using a seed treatment. This farm had more drought. It didn't rain as much. And where we had the cover crops, they yielded about a half ton per hectare better. Here, we averaged about 14 tons per hectare. And where we had no cover crops, yielded about 1.5 tons less per hectare. So we're finding that once we get the system established of planting green and get the soil healthy, we're actually getting higher yields in direct drilling and direct seeding into living covers than we would have if we had sprayed it off or plowed it. This video will show we did one field where we chose not to use any herbicides. Not quite organic, but close to it, just to see what kind of weed control we got by using the cover crops for competition to the weeds. This section had no cover crop, and then when you look at the video to the side, you'll see where we had cover crops.
What happens when you have no-till with no cover crops? We planted these beans.
So this is no cover crops where we have lots of weeds. We've got all our glyphosate-resistant weeds. Over here we had cover crops, and the only break we had was a little bit of grass.
Where the cover crops are with no
So I would still spray this, but this gave me an idea of how much weed control we were actually getting just by planting cover crops and providing that ecological competition for those weeds. Immediately after planting. The question was, when do we spray the cover crops? Typically we plant and then we spray. We try to avoid any planters running in fields that have herbicides freshly sprayed just because of personal protection. So we use a little bit of everything. It would depend on the crop. We use a lot of things that are banned in Europe. I think that there are substitutes for those herbicides, but we use what's most beneficial for us. So I still use atrazine, which you guys can, metallochlor, and mesotrione are typically our corn residuals. We could replace the atrazine if we wanted to, and then we typically mix that with glyphosate.
Deci au semănat cultură de acoperire, au erbicidat pe margini și au vrut să vadă care e diferența. Și când au început să semene unde era brown, adică unde era erbicidaseră, au văzut că nu poate să intre, că se lipește pământul de roți, că n-au cum să semene. În schimb, când au început să semene în mijlocul, în verde, totul a funcționat corect. Și atunci au ajuns la concluzia că în verde ai odată, umiditatea este redusă, că plantele consumă apa din sol, așa, și încă un lucru care el nu-l spune aici, dar mi l-a dat mie nostru, se menține oscilațiile de temperatură, și asta trebuie spus, de la noapte la zi, în perioada de semănare, primăvara, martie, aprilie, sunt foarte mari. Și dacă tu semeni, să spunem, la jumătatea lunii martie și ai ziua 15 grade, noaptea ai -2, sămânța suferă, clocește. Și având cultura asta de acoperire, și sunt, pentru că ei au senzori de la granular, de la compania noastră, care le arată tot, au senzori și spune exact diferența de temperatură în sol între un sol fără cultură de acoperire și un sol cu asta.
So this is what our corn will look like at harvest. This is the residual from the cover crops from last year. That's providing a home, that's providing a nurturing environment for earthworms. We do earthworm counts when we scout. We look at the health of the soil. We're building microbiology. There's some definite challenges to it. It's been a steep learning curve for us. We've had lots of, some people call them failures. I prefer to call them opportunities to learn. None of them have been too expensive. But we've run into some issues with corn. We have to knock it down. We have to crimp it because corn likes the sun. Soybeans don't seem to mind. We plant into stuff this tall with direct seed our soybeans and then just leave them and then harvest them. And our yields in soybeans are actually much more impactful than the corn. Slugs are a problem. I know a lot of parts of Europe have those. For planting equipment, I'll go a little faster. We use a Kinsey planter. The only thing we really needed was this. The other thing in corn that we learned is that because we were pulling all the excess nutrients up with the cover crops, we needed to up our rate of nitrogen in our starter. So we're putting down about 100 pounds of nitrogen per hectare just with the planter. And we're also putting down our phosphorus. I can't convert to kilograms, but I'll let you guys do that. We're putting down about 100 pounds of phosphorus as well per hectare. The rest of the nitrogen comes on once the crop is about this tall in a variable rate application. So we run, any planter can be suited for it. It's not that complicated. We run a deer planter as well, a case planter. Why do I do all this? Why do any of us farm? Why do any of us go to work? Because of our children.
Această ediție se va difuza la începutul lunii martie, așa că vă rog să transmiteți un mesaj către femeile care activează în zona agricolă.
Aș dori să le urez tuturor doamnelor din agricultură și domnișoarelor, bineînțeles, multă sănătate, putere de muncă și să înflorească în fiecare an precum ghioceii primăvara.